Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today, I'm excited to take a look at, what is that fuzz on there? I bet it's, I bet I know what that fuzz is from. Anyways, this is the Twosun TS-229 Megalodon. Really cool knife. Let's see if I can get that fuzz off there. I bet it's from Band-Aids. There we go, got that fuzz off. That was annoying. Okay. Let's go ahead and get right in with our size comparisons and measurements. And first of all, let's do our blade length measurement. Let's do inches. So we're coming in at just a hair over 3.5. We'll call it 3.6 inches on the blade. Kind of a unique looking blade, isn't it? Okay, so size comparisons. Let's start with our rats. Here is the Model 1. Line up the pivots. And the Model 2. And so right here, as you can see, the Rat 1 is longer than this knife. However, this knife does feel like a much bigger knife. I think that's down to a couple of reasons. For one, the handle on this knife is a lot taller than on the Rat. This knife is also pretty darn thick. It's a chubby boy. So, yeah, it definitely does feel, I mean, it's not a small knife, but it does feel even a little bit bigger than it actually is. Okay, so let's go on to our flagship comparisons. PM2 and Benchmade Bug Out. So again, this knife is pretty much exactly PM2 size. You can see it has a little bit sticking out, there at the butt, but pretty much PM2 size. Alrighty, next up, let's grab our Civivis. There's the Elementum. And there's the Praxis. So this knife is pretty similarly sized to the Praxis. Again, we can see a little bit sticks off there at the end. But, yeah. Okay. And to wrap up our size comparisons, let's just compare it against some Twosuns. Here is another Jelly Jerry design. This is designed by Jelly Jerry, by the way. This is the Twosun TS-226. Pretty cool. Carbon fiber milled titanium handles. And the SOB that gave me this, the Twosun TS-301. So yeah, there we go. So what are we looking at here as far as materials go? Well, like I said earlier, we're looking at carbon fiber inserts over a G10, or over a titanium G10, my goodness. That is milled. This is a frame lock. This is a frame lock, not, frame lock. Titanium clip, titanium backspacer. The blade steel is M390, and as you can see there, it is a front flipper. So, awesome. Good deal. Okay, so let's cut over to some cut footage. Nice pun. And then we'll be right back. Oh, actually real quick, blade shape. Tanto, modified Tanto. Drop point Tanto, whatever you want to call it. And it is a front flipper. All right, let's go. All right, let's talk about the cutting performance of the Twosun Megalodon. Forget what the number is. And luckily, I have a lot of cardboard to go through. I recently just put up a trampoline for my littlest brother. And then we didn't get a chance to put up the cardboard because it rained. And so now we have all this cardboard out here that is wet and then dried again. So it should be fun. Big staples, we're going to have to make sure to watch those. But let's go ahead. As for the knife itself, have a Tanto blade, kind of a big belly Tanto. It's M390, flat grind, pretty thin behind the edge like Twosun typically does. And yeah, see how it goes. This cardboard's kind of crusty, I guess is the right word, but it is cutting very well. All right, that's all we're going to do for now. Even through this kind of wet, mushy cardboard, sliced very well. I'll talk about the action a little bit. It's a good action. It's a front flipper. Works very well. You can flick it with the fuller. And if you get it in the right spot, you can get it with a thumb flick as well. How's the carry? The clip is actually really good. Twosun is not typically known for good clips, but I think they're getting better. This is a good clip, and it carries very well. And so, yeah, we'll go back to the table and talk a little bit more about it. Alrighty, we're back. So before we get started, obviously that cut footage was taken quite a while ago. It took me a while to get to the review of this knife, but I will say the full slicing capabilities of this knife were not demonstrated very well in that footage that I took. That cardboard was a little bit damp in places and kind of warped and stuff, and so this knife did very well, but it just didn't look as good as this knife could look. And I would go and cut some more cardboard right now, but this finger's still pretty sore, and it's just more difficult to hold cardboard still. So we're just going to go into it. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, the cardboard cutting footage from earlier was not the full potential of this knife. So with that being said and gotten out of the way, let's go into what I like and don't like about this knife. And the first thing I like, this knife has a name. Twosun needs to have more knife models with names. Instead of the TS-229, this is called the Megalodon. That is awesome. I love seeing that. Plus, Megalodon, you guys know me, I'm big into paleontology, so I like that. And the name does fit. You know, this does kind of bring sharky images to mind for me. And yeah, I like that. Speaking of sharky images, this is a good-looking knife. You know, this knife just looks really good. This blade is really cool. Love that compound grind. The clip is neat. This carbon fiber, Twosun's carbon fiber, always looks amazing. Love the pivot. The titanium being all milled the way it is just looks really, really nice. Yeah, this is a good-looking knife. That blade is unique, and it's very aggressive. Let's grab a cleaning cloth and wipe off some of them fingerprint smudges. Alrighty, there we go. Okay, so yeah, love the looks. This fuller is really nice. Love how the jimping continues from the blade into the handle. The blade is pretty reflective, which we'll talk about. But yeah, this is a good looking knife. This looks really, really cool. Jelly Jerry design, I already mentioned. I tend to like his designs quite a bit. Like his little design. I like his maker's mark. It's really, really cool. So yeah. Next thing, materials are good on this. M390, titanium, carbon fiber. Yeah, good materials. Yeah, good to see that. I know some people complain about Twosun's M390 heat treat. I'll be honest. It's not, in my experience at least, it's not that much worse than what a lot of other people are doing. So I don't mind it at all. Not at all. Next thing, ergos on this knife are fantastic. These are excellent ergos, and it doesn't really look like it would be. But man, your hand just goes in here so nicely. It starts off skinny, gets fat. That's so nice for your hand. You know, you do have gentle suggestions of where to place your fingers, but you know what? They are good suggestions. You can choke up in here, and it's still comfortable. And look at all that you have off the back. No matter what your hand size is, you're going to be able to hold this knife just fine. So that's really, really nice. These ergos make using this knife a joy. This jimping is very good jimping. Love how it continues from the handle into the blade. No matter where you're holding right here, the jimping is nice and functional, not too sharp, but does provide a lot of good, meaningful traction. Very nice. Next thing, the blade performs really, really well. This is a very unique blade, but as is Twosun's forte, nice thin flat grind. And then you do get a little bit thicker out here. In fact, let's see how thin that grind really is. I have my calipers right here. I just remembered I forgot to do a behind the edge thickness measurement on this guy. So let's see here. Turn on. Got zeroed out in inches. All right, let's see. I might have to take this off screen to do because this is a pretty difficult measurement to get sometimes. There we go. I'm getting 17 thousandths behind the edge right there on the main grind. And then let's go up here. $29 thousandths, probably 30 thousandths behind the edge up on the Tanto section. So you definitely do get good slicing capability, and you do have a lot of strength carried out here towards the tip. Very nice grind. It honestly kind of reminds me of, see if I have it here with me right now. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, there it is. Kind of reminds me of the grind on the Bestech Paladin Tanto. So, yeah, very functional blade. Get a lot of slicing, good piercing. If you need to do scraping, you can do that. You have your secondary tip, opening packages, utility cuts, stuff like that. Very nice blade, very multifunctional. There's a lot of utility that you can get out of this blade. And it's a cool looking blade. It's a unique blade. And I really do appreciate that. I've said before, if you're going to have a Tanto, this is what I like to see out of it. Slicing here, nice geometry for slicing here, hard use out here. You know, a Tanto is supposed to, in my opinion, give you a mix of both worlds. So I love that a whole lot. And the blade does work very well in relationship to the ergos and the handle. The way you hold this knife puts the blade at a lot of really good angles for a lot of different types of cuts. So that's really, really nice to see. Gotta love it. All right, moving on. Next thing I like, T8 hardware all the way around. Twosun's really good about this. And honestly, the hardware's pretty minimal. Minimal. Gosh, I can't speak sometimes. Pivot. Lock bar insert over travel stop. But, you know, you really never have to mess with that one. Just two screws here. Actually, I do think that these screws here are T6s. This one for the inlay. Those are the only 3 T6s on the place. But I'm pretty sure that just to disassemble the knife for maintenance, You only have to take out this screw, and this screw. So yeah, there we go. The pocket clip screw is hidden. And speaking of the pocket clip, this is a good clip. This is a really good clip. Titanium milled clips are kind of hard to get right, and in a lot of cases, Twosun does not get them right. But, I mean, lately I think Twosun's starting to get better clips. They're starting to use better clips, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. This is a good clip. You have plenty of room under there. It's nice and big and fat. In the hand, it's not a hot spot because it does this. Nice tension to it. You have a nice big area here to contact with your pocket, so it's not just tearing. Very, very nice. Like that a whole lot. Next thing, the fit and finish. The build quality on this thing is just impeccable. This knife feels very expensive. In fact, I'll be honest. This knife feels more expensive than my Wee Minax. And I love this knife a lot, but this knife does feel more expensive. And we'll talk about the price here in a little bit, but let's just say for now that it's not. But yeah, the materials are very nice. Look at these milling lines here. Look at how beautiful that is. And that carbon fiber. And the whole knife just fits together so well. This back spacer, which is really nice, by the way. You know, I like back spacers, and this one's really, really good. Gives you some little bit of traction there. You can see how closely fitted the inserts are with the titanium. The back spacer is pretty much perfectly fitted. Pretty interesting back spacer comes up this way quite a ways. We'll talk about that. But yeah, that's really nice. Next thing I like, carbon fiber inserts on both sides. You guys know me. I can't stand it when a frame lock doesn't match on both sides. I mean, it's not like I can't stand it, but I prefer that they match on both sides for aesthetics. And, in the case of this knife, for action. So, let's go into that. This is a front flipper. And this is actually the biggest front flipper I own. And, yes, I do own this knife, and I'm keeping it. So that should tell you something right there. But, yeah. So, this is a titanium frame lock front flipper. I was kind of hesitant with this knife because, one, I don't really like big front flippers. I don't know why. I prefer my front flippers in the medium to small range. Two, titanium frame lock front flippers, I think, or frame lock front flippers in general, I don't think they're a good idea because when you flip your knife, you have to hold it here. And now you can see why I think the carbon fiber inserts on both sides was such a great idea. Because here, my fingers are not on the lock bar at all. In fact, this is actually the grip I'm supposed to hold it at. But anyways, on most titanium frame locks or most frame locks that are front flippers, you kind of lock yourself out and you have to find different fancy ways to hold it. No, not this one. You get a good secure hold on it and whoops. And you flip it good. I appreciate that a whole lot. Next thing, and by the way, with the fit and finish, it was perfectly centered, and it has not come off center, which I appreciate because some Twosuns, especially some of their older models, had pivots that would back out after a few flips. But anyways, I didn't have to put any Loctite on this guy, so that's good. So next up, let's talk about the action. It has Twosun's great bearings in it. Gosh, guys. I need to focus. Front flippers are a little bit hard to do under cameras, but great action. Great front flipping action. Very smooth. You can use the fuller. I'll show you like this. To reverse flick it pretty easily. Thumb flicking, I can do sometimes. Not sure if I can get it right now under the camera, but yeah, there we go. You can thumb flick it with a fuller. This would be a good candidate for, you can go on Amazon and buy those quick thumb studs, or from Knife Center, I think they sell them too. Quick studs, maybe Blade HQ does. Anyways, you can go and buy those quick, like, screw-on thumb studs. This might be a good knife for that. I think you have to put it right here in that point, which might not work out so good. Maybe you could get away with them right there. Yeah, in fact, I think you could if you put them there. But yeah, the jimping here does work for the front flip very well. The front flipper is shaped nicely. Meets up with a nice, big, solid stop pin back there very nicely. Yeah. It's just a really, really cool knife. Great action. And I think that's just about all. Oh, pivot collar. Or not really a pivot collar, just the pivot looks like it has a collar. That's nice. But yeah, this knife just has such great details. That, I mean, let's mention some of them right now. I've already mentioned some of them, but nice hardware. Carbon fiber is good. The milling is good. The jimping is good. I love the different grinds that they have going on here on the blade. It's really nice. Fuller looks good. Nice sharpening choil. Lock bar insert over travel stop. Nice clip. It looks good, and it also functions like a clip should. Great fit and finish. This knife just feels expensive. How much does it cost? Well, you know, Twosun's talking about the price is kind of pointless because you can get them on eBay and you bid for them. But I got mine off of Amazon for 135 bucks. And that's really good for what you get. Really good. Especially since this guy, 260. Yeah, I'm not complaining about the price at all. Alrighty, that was a lot of good. What am I not liking about this knife so much? Well, to start with, the blade to handle ratio is a little bit wonky. This is a big handle, and you can see when we close the knife up, you know, the blade comes to the tip comes to there, which means all of that is just kind of, in fact, all of that is just kind of wasted handle. However, I hesitate to mention that because I don't know, it just works out so well in the hand. It really does. Next thing, I mean, I guess I'll mention this. This doesn't really matter to me, but the blade length is going to be bad for some people, legality-wise. This knife might be a little bit too heavy for some people. I find this knife to be super light for the size. There's no internal milling, but what they had to mill out for these carbon fiber inserts, I think, does a lot. It's fat. Some people might not like that. I don't mind it. In fact, being fat adds to the ergos. And yeah, just might not be the size that a lot of people want to carry. That's okay. For me, carries just fine. The only thing I'll say is front flippers are not really my favorite deployment method for a knife that you're for a work knife. There are several times where, you know, take this out of my pocket, and to me it's just kind of unnatural. You pull it out of your pocket, and then, you know, front flip, and it works better on smaller knives. I will say front flippers work better on smaller knives for me. This knife does work good, but I don't know. I just, you know, sometimes it's a little bit awkward to front flip when you could have, you know, done a regular flip. In fact, a lot of times I deploy this guy, pull him out of my pocket, and just middle finger flick him. Which, yeah, that's absolutely an option. Next thing, access to the lock bar is... Here's the thing. It's weird because they do not give you, you know, it's not proud of the other side. They give you this little chamfer in here, which is nice. And I feel like I can get to the lock bar. Like I don't have problems unlocking it, but I don't know. Someone might, maybe someone that has bigger fingers than me, because it doesn't look like there's enough room in there, and you know, there's no. But for me, somehow it does work to unlock it fairly easily, and that's really, really weird. Next thing, the blade collects fingerprints and stuff like no one's business. So, yeah, whatever. Satin finish. If you can keep it polished up, it looks really nice with the rest of the knife, but yeah, there is definitely that. Next thing I want to talk about. Oh yeah. This little spike here. For people with bigger hands, this might be an issue, or people who just have, if your hands just don't happen to fit right where that, like for me, it's right between these two fingers, my ring finger and my pinky finger. If it doesn't fall right there for you, that might be a spot that you wanna work on. But for me, it's good. Choking up, you don't really have too much protection there from the edge, but you know, choking up's for fine detail work. You might not be, you know, using it super hard. This grip here, you're pretty close to the edge. If you're just like going through cardboard, you've got enough control and everything. Jeez, and I think that's it. So let's go on to my final conclusions. And my final conclusions is that Twosun has made another banger, or Jelly Jerry has designed another banger that Twosun has made very well. This is an incredible knife for the price. $135 for what you're getting here. M390 titanium, carbon fiber, this level of fit and finish, the milling, it's good. It's really good, guys. And I can absolutely recommend this knife. Absolutely. It's amazing. There's really not too much wrong with it. From a user standpoint, and heck, even from just an enthusiast standpoint, there's not a lot that I find wrong with this knife. It's just a usable, beautiful beast. I really, really like it. It's probably one of my favorite Twosuns. In fact, I think it is my second favorite Twosun after this one. Review coming sometime. It's a good knife, guys. If you find one, go ahead and snap it up because, yeah, it's good. It's real good. And that's going to be it for today, folks. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave it a like, comment below, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this knife. Yeah. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.